Yeah.
Anyway, so that was a lot of fun, and that got me more interested in marriage. And then I got married, and then became even more interested in marriage. And then out in Pittsburgh, did an MA and needed a thesis. And so I thought, looking around as this was around the time, started the thesis in 2014, finished it in 2016. Right around the time Obergefell Hodges was in the news. So this was when the nation was deciding, what are we going to do about gay marriage? And the nation was very, culture wars, the whole thing. And listening to LCMS people respond to people arguing for a change in the understanding of marriage and going, we're not wrong, but we have a bunch of random ideas about marriage that we're throwing at the issue. We don't have a comprehensive theology of marriage. We have ideas about marriage. We have facts about marriage, but we don't have a theology of marriage. And historically at the church, if you look at this is par for the course. The church very, very rarely does proactive theology. It's usually reactive to something. So for example, in the early church, someone comes out and says, hey, I think there was a time when he was not, right? I think that Jesus isn't eternal. I don't think he's fully divine, right? So there's pushback to that. And well, now we got to wrestle with who is Jesus? What's the nature of the second person of the Trinity, right? Is second person of the Trinity. Who is Jesus? What does it mean? Two natures, one person, divine human natures in one person. And as a result of that hard work, which sprung from someone standing up and saying something that didn't sound right, now we got to address that. We did the theology. We did the hard work. We come up with the Nicene Creed. We come up with an understanding of two natures, one person, right?
So is it very much like these are assumed facts? Everyone's kind of agreed upon this. Someone comes in and says something wrong, and then we have to say, okay, that's definitely wrong, but we have to give a really thorough answer and really hash out why it's wrong. And then you get the Nicene Creed. Then you get a good theological understanding of a topic.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. So for example, in the 1500s, the understanding of justification, right? They're saying something about how we're made right with God that doesn't sound right. I can put money into a thing and then it lessens purgatory for this that it doesn't, no, and so from that you get the Reformation and the understanding of justification, our understanding of justification, what makes you righteous before God. So in the same way, everyone's always done marriage, it's a man and a woman. There's usually some sort of paperwork involved. There's some holy man involved. And then you go live together and make babies, and she changes her last name, and that's marriage.
What about the year 1200? What about the year 900? What about the year 200? Right. So, I mean, this is something that for years and years, this is like everyone's.
What you do.
Yeah. No one's arguing this issue.
Right.
Until
we argued the issue.
Yeah.
And what was interesting is if you study how fast the culture shifted you have the Defense of Marriage Act, I think it was 1999, which basically said marriage is between a man and a woman. Congress passed it overwhelmingly. 16 years later, Obergefell Hodges in 90 is
he's looking at Defense of Marriage Act DOMA
96, sorry,
signed by Bill Clinton in 96.
Yeah, so you have a liberal Democrat signing, and in a Democrat, I think in 96 at that time, that was before the Republican Revolution. Yeah, it passed. What was it 85-14? Defense of Marriage Act. Is that what it's saying in the Senate? I mean, overwhelming support for marriages between a man and a woman. And then less than 20 years later, you have the Supreme Court overturning, or Supreme Court saying that you have to allow two men and two women to recognize their relationships as marriage. And the culture is overwhelmingly fine with it.
Another interesting data point there. So Obama's first run was that 2008? Is that right? It was 2008 and then 2012. In 2008, he ran and said, and he backed up marriages between a man and a woman. He would not publicly say, and I mean, I don't know what he probably was completely.
Most liberal voting record in the Senate.
Yeah.
And he's saying marriage is a man and a woman.
Yeah. Probably not because he actually believed that. Probably not.
But politically,
he couldn't.
For the most liberal member of the Senate,
it
is still politically advantageous to argue for marriage between a man and a woman.
So in 2008, culturally speaking, most people are not okay with this.
No. But it changes.
At least their internal data is telling them that's the case. You can't win the presidency if you say marriage is between a man and a man and a woman and a woman.
Correct. And you go from there to now all of a sudden, if you look at the most recent stats, I think even a majority of Republicans are fine with gay marriage. Right. So why the shift so fast? And I'd argue two things. One, they made the issue not about marriage, but about love. Right. Secondly, we didn't have a good response. Mm-hmm. Our response is Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Well, again, like you're saying, that doesn't fly very well in a 2-hour long form discussion where let's get down, let's get beyond the bumper stickers and catchphrases. And let's drill down on, go deep on this. Mm-hmm. And we didn't have a coherent theology to address that issue, right? Mm-hmm. Because we never had to. And so we got caught. We got caught with our pants down. Mm-hmm. And the rest of it, the history writes itself.